How has Alex Eala's Australian Open exit affected her ranking? And what did she say after defeat? Alex Eala fell to a 3-set defeat to Alicia Parks in the opening round of the 2026 Australian Open, but she could still be set for a rise up the rankings on her Australian Open main draw debut. The 20-year-old rising Filipina star was beaten 6-0, 3-6, 2-6 by Parks, the world number 99. Roared on by a vociferous court 6 crowd full of her compatriots, Eala dominated the opening set, but she was outplayed by her 25-year-old American opponent thereafter. What did Alex say after her Australian Open exit? Following the match, Eala spoke about the massive support she received during her time in Melbourne and admitted aspects of it had been overwhelming. It was so heartwarming, Eala said. That's one of the things that makes a loss like today a little bit harder. I know a lot of people were rooting for me. It's a process to take it all in. I think this week definitely there were elements that were a bit overwhelming, especially during my practices. Tennis news. What did Alex Eala say after her Australian Open exit? Following the match, Eala spoke about the massive support she received during her time in Melbourne and admitted aspects of it had been overwhelming. It was so heartwarming, Eala said. That's one of the things that makes a loss like today a little bit harder. I know a lot of people were rooting for me. It's a process to take it all in. I think this week definitely there were elements that were a bit overwhelming, especially during my practices. Tennis news. I'm still young, so learning how to deal with all of this attention, but then at the same time being grateful. Eala added, I guess this is one of the moments that I can reflect on what this means for Philippine tennis. I'm the only Filipina in the draw this year. I'm the only Filipina that's ever been in the draw, I think. So, there are positives to take away. How has Alex Eala's Australian Open exit affected her ranking? Eala started the Australian Open at a career-high ranking of world number 49, and she has climbed 6 places to a projected new best position of 43rd in the live WTA rankings. Players earned 10 points for losing in the first round of a Grand Slam event, and Eala now sits on 1,154 points. AA's position when the WTA rankings update after the Australian Open will depend on the points gained by players ranked below her who are still competing at Melbourne Park. A journey of promise, pressure, and perspective. Alex Eala's Australian Open exit, and what it means for tennis fans in the Philippines and around the world. Alex Eala's presence at the 2026 Australian Open marked more than another tournament entry. It was a defining moment in a young burgeoning career painted with high hopes, national pride, and the weight of expectation. At just 20 years old, Eala has already reimagined what Filipinos can achieve in professional tennis. But not every story of growth comes with unbroken triumphs. Her first-round exit in Melbourne was one such chapter. Complicated, reflective, and ultimately poised for future growth. Setting the stage. A star on the rise. Before Melbourne, Alex Eala was already riding the swell of a remarkable breakthrough season. In 2025, she captured global attention by reaching the semifinals of the Miami Open, a WTA 1000 event where she upset high-profile opponents and became the first Filipino to reach that stage in a major tour event. That run showcased her game's explosive potential and helped vault her into the top levels of the sport. By early 2026, she had earned a career-high ranking of world number 49 in the WTA singles standings, a milestone that made her the highest-ranked Filipino player in history. This marked a stunning rise from lower tiers only a short time ago, signaling that her hard work and relentless climb were beginning to pay off in tangible results. The Australian Open then was not just another Grand Slam. It was her main draw debut in the first major of the year. With eyes from her homeland and beyond locked on Court 6 at Melbourne Park, a match filled with emotion and expectation. Eala's opening round draw pitted her against American Alicia Parks, a solid opponent with experience at the tour level. The match unfolded as a microcosm of pressure and performance. Eala dominated the first set 6-0, thrilling the crowd and affirming her talents on the biggest stage. But tennis is a long tactical battle, and Parks battled back with strength and composure, ultimately winning the next 2 sets 63-62. The result was an early exit on paper. Yet, the spark of the opening set reminded spectators that Eala's potential is immense, even when defeat intervenes. Yet, the venue itself seemed almost like a character in the story. Court 6 was packed with Filipino supporters waving flags, chanting, "Let's go Alexandra," and lining up long before match time in what became an insane queue of fans. Even the crowd's intensity played a role. While overwhelmingly positive, it also proved almost too much for a young player to process, an emotional double-edged sword. Some observers argued that the noise and passion enhanced her presence. Others suggested it may have compounded the pressure she was already carrying. How the loss affected her ranking. For many players, an early Grand Slam exit can result in a net loss of ranking points, especially if they fail to defend deep. The tennis world didn't just watch a match at the 2026 Australian Open, it felt a story unfold. For Alex Eala, the 20-year-old Filipino trailblazer whose rise over the last year has captivated fans from Manila to Melbourne, her main draw debut at the season's first Grand Slam was supposed to be a breakthrough. Instead, it became a breathtaking saga of sudden hope, bruising defeat, and a message that transcended sport. The stage was set. Alex Eala's presence at the Australian Open this January was more than a personal milestone. It was historic. The rising Filipina star had earned her way into the main draw, a first in her career, and she did it with a resume that had fast become impossible to ignore. Just 1 year earlier, she'd blasted onto the global tennis scene, crashing into the spotlight with a dazzling performance at the Miami Open, where she upset one of the sport's best and reached the semifinals, shocking the world and signaling she belonged among the elite. Her climb up the rankings has been equally remarkable. From a promising junior with flashes of brilliance to a career-high WTA ranking of number 49, she became not just a contender but a voice for Southeast Asian tennis aspirations everywhere. This Australian Open, the first major of 2026, promised to be the moment where Eala turned promise into legacy. Melbourne Park, a court full of dreams. From the moment Eala stepped onto Melbourne's Court 6, the energy was palpable. Filipino flags, chants of "Let's go Alexandra," and a sea of supporters packed into the intimate stadium created an atmosphere rarely seen for a first-round match, especially from a player not seeded among the world's top 10. Lines to get into the court snaked for hours. Fans everywhere perched on screens, waved banners, and reveled in the presence of a young woman who had become more than an athlete. She was representation, aspiration, and pride for an entire nation abroad. And then, almost theatrically, she took the first set, 6-0, in a dazzling display of dominance and poise.